Hello there, and welcome back, all you beautiful, lovely people. Hope y'all having an amazing day out there, day or night, whenever you're watching this. Today, I have a good group of, I want to say, 2, 4, 6 people here, but, some of them don't necessarily want to share their opinion, so it doesn't mean we're going to hear from all of them. But, yeah, I'm talking about you. Yeah, he knows I'm talking about. This tall, beautiful, handsome, creamy-skinned white man. But, sorry about that. I didn't mean to go that off. But yeah, no, we're going to be going over whether America is truly the greatest country of all time and it is truly the land of the free, home of the brave, or if this was all just has been propaganda that we have been fed since children, right? But really, I don't necessarily feel like this is true, and I'm sure other people don't either. So we're kind of going to go over why we don't agree with it. But yeah, I guess let's start us off with Ivan, man. He was talking about Europe and a bit of the way that they, or one of the laws that they have in, I guess, Northern Europe and parts of Sweden, which I also find interesting, which also, can take us into the leeway of the capitalistic greed of America and why we're not free.
Yeah, so in North European countries, and basically in most European countries, you have the right to explore, let's say, the land. Like, no one can stop you. It's even if it's privately owned, if it's not, if it doesn't have fence around, you can access it and no one will say a word to you. So it's called freedom to roam, or every man's right. So it's basically like you can access any land without any legal issues, and you can do there whatever you want as long as it's not dangerous to environment. But in the United States, every land is privately owned, and so if you access, I don't know, let's say field that doesn't have anything, you can still be charged for trespassing.
And yeah, and that is a crazy concept because, like how we were talking about earlier, he also went on to say the fact that, you go to a national park, we typically think about that as being, free nature, right? You want to go there and explore, camp out, and kind of just live amongst, wilderness and nature. Even then, you have to pay, $20-$50 to get into the national park, and you have to rent out, day passes, week passes. If you want to live inside an RV and, live inside the national park, you have to literally pay rent to live on publicly owned property. To me, it's the fact that America raises this idea of us being free, but it's the sense that we're only free if we have the capitalistic money to pay for that freedom. It's the fact that everywhere you look, you see you see a gate that says, come in for free, but guess what? It's a $5 entry fee. It's it's hypocritical, and it's the fact that it tells you, hey, we're free, but we're not. Let's go back through our history, right? Our founding fathers believed on the divine rights of human rights, and the fact that men were innately given rights to vote, have say in the government, and have all these political ideologies, right? Well, what about slavery, man? Our founding fathers were literally slave owners, and slavery wasn't abolished. yes, you. Yeah, sorry. He said he was one of our founding. Sorry. I gotta cut. I'm not gonna say that joke. Never mind. You're gonna get me canceled off of week one back. Yeah. But it's the fact that slavery wasn't really abolished until what? I want to see. Abraham Lincoln, 1846. I want to say. No. The Emancipation Proclamation. Oh, I just learned this stuff too. It's I want to say 1860 something, 62. Oh, I'm waiting for someone to look it up and tell me. He's looking it up. See, this is the bad part of Americans too. It's our education system too. Do y'all realize how broad our whole education system is? The fact that I know a lot of history, but I only know the gist of when it took place. I'll be in the 1800s.
January 1st, 1863.
1863, only off by 1 year. Sorry, guys. I did just learn that, by the way.
That was not even that long ago.
Exactly. And think about that. Here's one of the biggest differences between American slavery and other forms of slavery. It was one of the first forms of chattel slavery, which literally meant that humans weren't humans. Any other form of slavery, the slaves essentially had right, which was kind of similar to serfism in Europe, where the peasants worked for the nobles and stuff like that, getting their food back. It's basically the way slavery was everywhere else. But that's why I told you to get close, beyond, so you can talk on the mic. People want to hear your beautiful voice.
My beautiful voice, especially in old times too. The slaves weren't treated just they were nothing, like how we treated slaves. It was more of just, you're lower than us, but you're still a person. Yeah, like you might not get much anything, but like they still were given a decent amount of food and all that, enough to where they'd still be able to work properly
And live.
But for
They
us,
wouldn't even eat
yeah.
half the time, yeah.
But what we decided to do is there were times that they would just let them starve. We had the hot boxes and all that, and I don't remember what it's called, but the one.
Keep going.
Do you not know what I'm talking about?
It's like you put them in a really hot room, right?
It was a
Metal
metal
box,
box
yeah.
in the ground that stays in the heat. Basically, yeah. Like it was really bad though, because especially with how hot it was back then, and how open the grass and all that was, those boxes could get anywhere up to like 100 or something degrees. I'm pretty sure. Like it was bad. They'd get genuine burns from it.
Yeah, keep talking.
But also besides that, is it's like they also like there were times where they tortured them too, cause I don't remember what it's called, but like a form of punishment for the male ones was they would just straight up cut their testicles off.
That is completely true. And the funny thing is that this was honestly like one of the last results when it came up to slaves. But you got to realize certain African people, whenever they came to America, they came with the idea that they were going to run back to Africa and they were going to make it back home. Like, I kid you not, they had no idea where they were at.
Yeah,
and
they didn't know how long they were on that boat for.
Exactly, man. For them, it was literally hell. But whenever they did get here, like you said, they would cut their balls off. They'd cut their balls off or their foot off if they ran multiple times. Yeah.
Because it's like normally it would just be like, if you try to run away at the beginning, it would be like 15 lashes or like 20 lashes or something like that.
That's crazy.
Which is still really bad.
Can y'all imagine?
Have y'all ever actually like been mildly whipped by a real whip?
No.
It fucking hurts.
Yes, man.
It's bad. Yeah. It rips straight through your skin like it's nothing. It's because like the whip of the tip of the whip when it actually snaps.
Because it's supersonic.
Yeah.
Y'all ever been hit with like like the willow trees? Y'all ever hit one of those branches? The flexible ones? I got whipped by one of those. Me and some buddies used to do that. We would just hit each other with them.
See, but that's just guy games.
Yeah.
But still, it kind of is. It's not comparable, but it's still there.
It gives you the idea, and it's like, shit, this hurts that bad. Imagine what that hurts like. Yeah.
Right.
Because like comparing the punishments that we had to people compared to older times back then, it was like, oh, if you do bad, no food for you tonight. Like it could get to the point where they die or actually do it, but they'd have to actually do something to get to that point.
You want to hear the craziest part? Slave masters never wanted a slave to die. You know why?
To lose money.
That was money. That's literally all the slaves were to them. It was like literally labor and hard-earned money that they had put into buying, animal that was supposed to work for them. And so they would literally brutalize them and beat them to the point of brink of death, but they would never let them die. Like at a certain point on the slave passage, and when certain slaves would get punished, they wouldn't eat for weeks. And they literally had a device that they'd stick in their mouth and they'd cock it and turn it, and it would break teeth and break jaws and break bones, but it'd pry their mouth open to the point that they could feed them grits and shit. And literally just grits.
So yeah, it was basically to the point that like whenever they finally got to actually eat, they were just getting force-fed.
Yes.
Not even able to, because
not even like anything
decent.
Yeah. It's literally like a week-old grits.
Because the worst thing about it too is it's like
their dirty leftovers from.
Exactly. And the worst thing about it too is it's like, even if they wouldn't have had the thing in their mouth all the way open, they would have still at least enjoyed the food a little bit because they hadn't eaten in weeks.
Yeah.
So it's like nutrients.
But they didn't want to fight it because they were that determined to say, fuck you to the slave master.
Exactly. That's true dedication right there.
Yeah, not gonna lie. And you want to hear the other crazy thing? So slaves did other crazy things to piss off their slave masters, which is kind of funny because it's kind of what we do with our managers.
They do that with managers, teachers.
Yeah, they'd act stupid on purpose. They'd get extremely intoxicated and like drugged to relieve their pain. They'd work slower, but whenever they worked slower, eventually slave masters started beating them for that. Yeah. So that went away. They would sleep with each other just simply to feel something because they were that fucking brutalized. That's where
and the worst thing about it is that they actually had a kid too. Kid instantly got forced into slavery.
Yes, slavery children automatically born and sold into slavery. Mm-hmm. If they wanted to sell that baby, they could sell that baby. If they were like, "Ooh, this baby would make a nice wedding present. I might as well give it to them."
Yeah.
They would fucking give it to. You want to hear the worst part? Slaves did everything for the white people. Like, literally took care of their kids, washed their kids' dirty diapers, fed their kids, basically had their kids play with their kids.
For the house.
They built the house.
Yeah.
They fed the house. Like,
because there also was a difference, too, between on how the field slaves and actual house slaves were treated.
But still, at the end of the day...
House slaves were only treated better in the terms of... Because they still got punished, definitely.
But in their condition of living.
Yeah. But they actually had like rooms,
Exactly.
and they actually got pretty decent food
Because they ate with basically whatever they fucking. Because you got to realize that house slaves are the fucking cooks too.
Yeah.
They're literally
cooking for everybody in the house.
Yes.
Because especially back then.
You want to hear the craziest part too? The white. I keep saying this, man. The white man, right? If he saw a female slave in the house that he liked, that would become his mistress, and his wife would know about that shit.
Yeah.
But white women literally had as
Especially
little rights
back then.
Yeah, as little rights
couldn't
as
say
a
anything.
slave that they'd be like, okay. And you want to hear the? Okay, I keep saying it. The craziest part again. The white women, a lot of times would brutalize whichever slave was the mistress, just because her husband was
Liked
fucking
her more, yeah.
Yeah, and she didn't have no say in it. Like, literally, she was sitting there getting raped and beat for no reason.
Yeah, and there's nothing she can do about it except just let it continue.
Yeah.
Or try to run away, but then get severely punished if she doesn't make it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And think
very,
about it.
very brutal.
America was founded on the idea of being the land of the home and
Land of the free.
land of the brave, home of the free.
Oh yeah, home of the free.
Yeah. But at the same time, we kept slavery around for so long that other countries abolished slavery or were working towards abolishing slavery before us. Like, the Haiti Revolution happened, I want to say, in 1726, where, like, slaves literally revolted and took over an island to have the island, right? And not only that, but France, later on, I'm pretty sure they abolished the whole thing of slavery. England eventually abolished that. I know the Spanish colonies were very early on, like, moving towards abolishing slavery, even though that never was widespread, but certain ones did abolish slavery, and, like, slaves and, I guess, what were they called? They were basically the mix of the indigenous people and either white people or slaves. They were basically, I guess, given semi-rights, because before they used to be, like, land workers. Basically, same thing as
Yeah, I'm
slaves.
trying to remember the term too.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember the term. It's not.
It starts with an M, I think. Mulattoes.
Yeah.
No, the mulattoes was a mix of black and white. Fuck. Creole, maybe?
Well, whatever it was, they had a little bit more class and
Yeah,
stuff compared
but
to
it's
them.
like all these countries did this before America, and yet even once the slaves were free, do you ever realize how life has been for, like, black people?
Oh, it didn't get good until, like, just recently.
And
like,
even
in all
then,
honesty,
it's still not good.
it's still not the best.
Yeah, and not only that, but, like, for any colored person, you ever realize white people used to hate on each other? English people literally used to hate on the Irish because they say that they still do. They do it for the Scottish too. They used to have something where they literally try to breed out the Scottish people by
It's like Spaniards and Mexicans. I'm pretty sure they have like a rivalry. Or is it Spaniards? I know there's two
Albert Braga,
Spaniards.
if you are in the
Like,
building,
people in
your ride is
Spain
waiting for you
that fucking
outside.
hate each
Albert
other.
Braga, if you are in the building, your ride is waiting for you outside.
I think I'm Italian. How much I'm doing this.
You gotta put it on, Lucas. I thought you weren't talking, man.
But I'm pretty sure it's like the same thing with like I'm pretty sure there's two different types of people from like Spain, like in South America, that just absolutely hate each other's guts for no reason. Like, I'm pretty sure it's like Spaniards. I'm pretty sure there's like
Argentinas and
yeah.
Spaniards are in Europe, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're in Spain. Spain is by, I want to say, France.
Or I'm just saying, like, Spanish-speaking countries. There's two of them that just absolutely fucking.
No. You want to hear the funny thing? A lot
What?
of people get offended whenever they're called Mexicans because they're from a different place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like Venezuela or
Yeah,
something.
but at the same time, like, no disrespect to the culture, definitely different cultures. But at the same time, we were all colonized by the same,
Yeah.
European countries.
Our
I'm pretty
history-
sure Mexicans are actually a breed of rape.
Yeah. No.
I'm pretty
you
sure-
realize most people are a breed of rape.
Yeah.
When you look at history at this point. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Somewhere down all our bloodlines, we were a product of a rape baby.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
There is literally kind of
Impossible.
impossible.
Yeah.
Because all it takes is one.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, especially
Exponentially,
All-
yeah.
all it
'cause
takes is
that's
one.
How much-
the whole thing.
Fucking rape there's been to like indigenous people and
Oh,
just people in
especially.
general in
But
history.
I don't know what time period it was, but it was in the. It probably might have been around the 1800s or like 1600s, but rape was horrible.
Yeah.
It was bad, like especially in like early England and stuff. It was horrible for the women.
Yeah.
They got. Oh, it was bad.
Okay. To get us back on topic too, because remember this is about
Yeah.
America being the land of the land of the brave, home of the free. I'm eventually gonna get that, guys. I'm sorry, but
lock in.
yeah, I gotta lock in, man. But it's the fact that we have this ugly history, a big part of us in recent history, that kind of makes me just first of all question, like, what the motives of our founding fathers truly were if they weren't standing by this comment. If you had all these other nations that fought off slavery before them, and not only that, if you had all these other countries that accepted black people and began to, I guess, have less restrictions on them and actually accept them in society before America, it's like insane whenever you look at America, right? Like, we fought the Civil War, right? And then black people were still racially, discriminated against, throughout the fucking, the early 1900s?
Yeah, I think it was like 19.
And it was to the point where, like, the Ku Klux Klan and radical movements like that were killing, like, thousands of black people, right? And nobody was doing shit about it because at that point it had become a normality, and it was like they were still viewed as less than human. That was less than 100 years ago, and they thought that black people...
Yeah,
I
1965
have something
is
even
where
worse about that. So about the killings, there was something even worse than the KKK back then. There was something called it was called lynching, actually.
Oh,
It's where
They hung them up on a cross and burned them.
And these aren't, Ku Klux Klan members. These are normal members of society. I mean, just family people, husbands, wives, and kids. They'll just come out to these town squares and hundreds of them to watch it.
And you know why they'll do
These
it?
are completely normal people.
And you know why they'll do it? Because a black person would do something as bad as looking at a white woman the wrong way. Drinking from the wrong water fountain. Didn't bow to them whenever they walked by. They didn't move out of the way because a white person. They didn't get off the sidewalk. That was the old rule. You had to get off the sidewalk if a white person was walking on the sidewalk. And then
it was an actual law, or it was like
yeah, they were Jim Crow laws. That's what the Jim Crow laws. Jim Crow laws were. Okay, Jim Crow laws were laws that were. Sorry, we got our. I forgot what nickname I gave him last time. What nickname did I give you last time? Yeah, Mr. Businessman, right? Or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
I don't know.
But I'm just saying, like, in the sense of all of this, I don't think just this would make it. I know it sounds fucked, but I don't think just this would make it like the worst country in America. There's definitely more shit they did other than slavery, but that, and there's so many other countries that have done the exact same thing. So it's like, if we're really talking about how good America is, right? What other things have they done that have made us determine this so far?
Yeah, see, that's a good point. And he's right. There are definitely worse countries out there. And remember, the question isn't whether America is truly the worst country out there, if, we're a horrible place to live with, because honestly, we would be we would be a lot worse in other places.
It's definitely not the best country.
And this is where, like, it's really weird, I guess. But we're going to get into, like, what would make it the best country. Like, what were the reasons that we have always been told that America was truly the best country out there?
Propaganda.
But what was that propaganda? What did they tell us that we were good at? Do you have some answers for that, Ivan?
well, I can say that
What is America known for internationally that makes them the quote unquote best?
movies like Hollywood, yeah.
Hey, our movies
I mean, he's right, bro. He's
That's all. Okay, anything else?
Anything else?
I'd say like military.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
that's what I was
military
thinking.
for
Also,
sure.
like,
We're also
And-
known for economic opportunity.
Right? What do you
Yeah.
mean?
But
I
see,
mean,
that's propaganda
people,
that
they
we've been
come
fed,
but they're
because the
coming
fact
from
that
the idea we get these rights at our birth, that we have these things to be able to just have them. I feel like people put a lot of trust in their rights in this country.
So
your question is, what other countries see the best in America?
what other countries, whenever they look at America, do they look at that stands out to them that makes them go, wow, like America's a good country? Because, see, this is what I'm saying. Like, this is propaganda that we have been fed, our rights. And it's the fact that we have the ideological belief as Americans that we can stand behind our rights. And, basically our rights will always be served to us, right? But at the same time, that might not even be true.
The thing is, even now, even though, like, we constantly see our government just fucking ignore our rights and just abuse the fact that we just don't do shit about it.
Exactly.
We just kind of complain about it. Like, we just kind of complain about it on the internet like that's going to change anything.
And this is like what I mean. Because on one hand, that's one thing that we've always been told, our rights are something good. And that's one thing that we always told that's why people want to come to America, right? But at the same time, we're starting to get to the point that as, we grow up and as we look online, we're starting to realize that, hey, a lot of times people's rights have been abused. A lot of times people haven't been given a fair trial. A lot of times people have been wrongfully convicted or wrongfully arrested. A lot of times people are getting away with things just simply because they have a certain position in power. Like the Epstein list, man.
No.
Yeah, we don't want to go into that. But, like, look at that, man. All these people that are listed off on that list aren't held accountable because of their celebrity status or their, quote-unquote.
It's not even just celebrity status. It's just because they're
politicians or people of power.
And
People
it's
of
just
interest.
because they're high up in the world when it comes to how much influence they have. Because I feel like what happens when people get famous is the moment someone actually gets any scent, well, not scent, but like any hint or taste of being able to actually influence people, something happens.
Because they
forces
want
them
that
to-
influence, yeah.
Because free influence is not free.
Okay, so Ivan said that.
We went to Epstein's Island as like a
holiday thing.
No, I'm just saying. I don't think they went for like a recognition. Like, I don't think anyone was supposed to know. Like, it definitely wasn't what's it called? What's that word for recognition? Like clout ploy?
Reputation.
Yeah, that one.
Well, no. I'm talking about whenever you gain like attention, like you're trying to gain attention.
Recognition?
Reputation, yeah.
No, the reputation is like fame, I guess. I don't know what word you're trying to say that starts with an R, man.
Anyways.
Yeah, I thought it would be recognition.
Recognition, yeah.
Anyways, just
At second you start getting your influence.
yeah, just anything. I don't think going to Epstein's Island was meant to influence anybody. I think they just.
I think I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Going to Epstein's Island wasn't supposed to be a clout thing or something that you did to get famous. Right?
Yeah.
It's like you went there to do something, and I guess they caught you in the middle of it, and now there's a list out there, right? But like our rights, and what Ivan said that we were known for Hollywood, right? Whenever you look at Hollywood, what do y'all think of?
Drugs. A lot of drugs.
Movies.
Okay. And whenever you look at Hollywood, you think of movies, right?
Yeah.
See, here's a different standpoint because of our, perspective on America and our view as living in America and seeing things that straight up do happen in Hollywood. We have a different perspective. We have a different idea of what Americans know for. What does one of y'all say?
What?
One of y'all said something else about America that would be our economic jobs. Opportunity.
Economic
Opportunity. But even whenever we look at that, like, look at the price of inflation and look at where a majority of, I guess, labor is going, right?
Yeah, I mean, for a job in America, you need to make at least like $120,000 a year to afford just the basic house of living.
Yeah.
Like, you can't even make a mortgage anymore. You can't buy a house down. I mean, just straight. I mean, you can't afford anything in America that's worth living.
And it's the fact that we've always been told that we're gonna have this. We have this prosperous country that we're gonna grow up into.
California is so bad.
Dude, I don't know.
Bro, a fucking $1 million house.
Yeah.
No, and the thing that's what I was about to go into. I was waiting for Leaf to get done.
Literally.
Back then, like 3-4 generations ago, you could get a whole like decently nice house for like maybe like $67,000.
You know
sure, the
what
economy
you
was
could get a
5-room house for like $70,000.
Exactly.
You know what you could have gotten with $1 million back in the day?
Dude, back then that was a
mansion.
literal mansion.
That
Yeah,
was a literal-
compared to what you can get now
For $1 million,
yeah.
especially depending on where you are in the U.S. Like in some places, it's not as bad.
Texas,
if
you could get decent size.
you can get it in Texas. You can get it.
4 or 5 rooms.
Texas has one.
In Texas, I'd say you could probably get it. Like it would be like a house with like 5 or 6 rooms, but then you'd have a lot of land.
Yeah.
That's what would make it so expensive is the land.
You know
Or the
what?
neighborhood.
Yeah. But like another thing too is it's like back then, even like car insurance and just stuff like that, it was so much lower and
That's
everything.
what I like about people in like Norway. They get free housing by the government. You just pay a certain percentage of whatever you're making. So like basically, say like you're homeless, right, and you need a house, but you don't have enough money to like buy your own. You go up to the government. You're like, hey, I want a house, and I don't have a place to live. And they're like, okay, you're gonna pay this percentage of however much you're making right now. In exchange, you get to live here. So instead of making it a set price, they make you pay like a percentage of your wages that you make, which, in my opinion, I mean, that seems like a lot better.
Those are called taxes.
Yeah, well, yeah, but like they don't. Even if you're homeless, they'll give you a house. It's still
they'll
government.
just tax you.
Well,
They tax your paycheck.
pretty much what they do is, yeah, they do tax your paycheck. But if you're homeless and have no job getting a house, right, what they'll do is they'll make you, they'll government, like, force you into a job. Like, they'll pretty much, like, make you go to a job. And, like, they'll assign one for you.
Or they'll kick you out of the country.
No, they won't kick you out. They'll literally just assign one for you, and you're like, you work
worst case,
here
they'll
now.
make a job for you to work there.
Yeah, they're like, you work here now.
But to be fair, that like wouldn't sound that bad, I guess, if you completely wanted to get rid of the homeless population and homeless people wanted to not be homeless, right?
Exactly. Then that's one of the big problems we have here.
That we have homeless people. By
It's
choice.
not just that we have homeless people, because homeless people is like everywhere for the most part.
Yeah.
It's just gonna happen. But with how it is here, there's a lot of homeless people that have gotten so used to the life of being homeless, and there's a lot of homeless people that just fully grow up being homeless, and it just makes it into something that's not really good. Because if you look at like Skid Row or something, that whole like I don't know how long it is again, but it's deep. Yeah.
I've been there. I've seen that.
It's bad.
It's like literally homeless people everywhere, like on every
There's tents
sidewalk.
on top of tents.
Yeah.
And they're just. And it's like a decent like a whole city block worth of just homeless people. It's like their own little empire.
And that just says how bad California is, bro.
Yeah, because it's different. You would think that since it's like the one massive place, the United States, that they would try to every place would be around the same. No, you could literally drive like 4 hours somewhere else,
And it will be
and
completely
it'll be
different.
Completely different.
Yeah. That's why I truly believe that one of America's biggest issues is the fact that we're treated as a whole country, and we're treated as like, it's for the betterment of the nation. But at the same time, every state has individual needs, and everybody has different problems in every state.
Because it's also because like every state is different. They have different
Economic growth, economic factors, they have different ways of making money.
There's not a lot of like some places literally don't have like anything. There's like one small, like maybe like 4 or 5 small towns in that whole thing, and it's just wilderness.
Mhm.
Like you can't really do much there because it's either like start deforestation to make more stuff, which would ruin the planet even more.
But they don't give a fuck.
Yeah, they don't care.
They're just waiting until they have to.
And it's either that or it's stay where you are, but have the same things that never change ever, because there's no change going on where you're at.
Yeah. And you want to hear the crazy part about the whole, like, I guess, Norway thing that Lucas was talking about? A system like that would never be able to be implemented in America just because of the sheer size of it and because of our involvement in foreign affairs. Look at how much money we're extraditing out of the country involving other, countries' business because we're in charge of, I guess, keeping the world peace.
You know what else is pretty cool in Finland? So first of all, school, like college, is completely free. So that's one thing that's pretty fucking cool about it. But also, you know how in America you gotta get into a really fucking good college? Pretty much, okay, hold up. Okay, so pretty much, like, you know how if you don't go to a certain college, you can't do a certain job, right? The thing is, in Finland, like, since all the colleges are free, you, like...
They're all the same thing.
They're not all the same. There's colleges more superior to other colleges, right? There's still that. But you know how you have to pay extra, like a lot of fucking money?
Like if you wanted to go to Harvard.
If you wanted to go to a good college in America, if you want to go to a good college in Finland,
You just have to go to a decent one and then a good college.
Or you just have to do good in school.
you just have to do good in school.
Oh wow.
Like show proficiency in a
Which
field.
is you would think that's how it would be here.
Yeah.
Because like you were saying, it's the place of opportunity. So if you prove that you have that opportunity, that you should get it. But no, you could have someone have horrible grades, but then they can have like their family or something can have someone with connections, and then they can get into a good college just based off of that. And it goes from there. That's why it's like people in power will always stay in power.
Or it's also the factor that, you know, sometimes certain schooling institutions are meant to drive a kid a certain way, or are meant to be better for a certain kid than, you know, certain other ones. Like public schooling isn't the best, man. Like there's definitely a lot of better things we could be doing for our time than we are doing inside of school within itself. And I've also seen private schools where like there are children that pay like I guess 20-30 grand a month
And still don't get a good education.
No, and they get an amazing education. I was watching this video of these kids that were literally like making apps and having like business calls in the middle of class. And I'm like, bro, that's like exactly. And like that's like these kids, their parents are literally pouring out 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 grand a month to send these kids to these schools. Yet these kids are already at our age becoming, you know, business professionals within themselves.
And the worst thing about it too is that it's like that's just some of them, because I've seen videos of people in private schools and they're just horrible.
Yeah.
Like they're really expensive, and then you have like, I remember there was this one video of literally the teacher ended up like just start beating on a student because he couldn't get
But
an
those
answer
are the
right.
I promise you, those are like the cheaper options.
Well, yeah, but it's still a school that you're paying to have a better education
Exactly.
for.
But a lot of times these private schools are based off of, I guess, Catholicism and their own religious ideology. So a lot of times, I guess that thing in the past they take today. The crazy part of the one that I'm talking about is the fact that, you know, you're paying this money, right? And it's the fact that they're getting this opportunity because you're paying them this money. And it's the fact that if you look at the economic difference within America, the 1% is the only people that can actually afford to send their kids to these schools, while the rest of us are forced to go to public school and wasting a lot of our time, wasting a lot of our energy, and not necessarily being educated on the right stuff in a proper manner, or really learning that much.
Because with all the schools that I've been to, because especially I swap schools a lot, there's a lot of difference, because some schools you have really good teachers and all that, and you actually learn stuff, and then other schools, like whenever I was in Sellers, you don't learn anything.
Yeah.
Like, they
But
didn't
at the
even
same time,
try
you gotta
to
think
teach.
about it's because of the curriculum too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times teachers that are good teachers don't necessarily follow the curriculum of the book. They kind of do their own thing and try to add it to the curriculum. If a teacher truly does follow the curriculum, that class is like boring as hell.
And it's not, because the thing about, with most people, it's like, if you're not interested in it, you're just going to slowly zone out and not pay interest in it, which if you don't have interest in it, you can't remember it, because your brain's not going to think it's important. So that's why it's better for like interactive activities, stuff like that, or literally just being more, what's the word? Trying to remember what it's called. Like being more not interactive. I already said that. Just talking with the class more, not just like
Engaging.
Yeah, engaging. There you go. Not just like, oh, here's a piece of paper. Look at the notes on your Chromebook.
Yeah.
There you go. That's your assignment for today.
Have you ever taken any DC courses?
Yeah.
Do you realize how
Boring.
those
You know how boring music theory was?
It's literally just talking to a computer, reading notes, watching a video.
Yeah.
And they're
then-
not even that good.
and-
It's like you could at least give us good guided notes or something interesting.
And they're
No,
just boring.
Literally like textbook material.
And the worst thing about that too is it's like whenever I was in music theory, it was so bad, because it's like I like music and all that. I want to learn music theory, but the way they try to teach it to you, it doesn't allow your brain to be like, oh wow,
Free.
yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't allow
Creativity.
you to suck in the context of that book. Because if you're just reading it straight from a book, I mean, yeah, if you read it over and over and over and over again, you're gonna get it. But it'd be a lot easier if you had a more interactive way to do it, because then if you have a fun way while learning something,
You know what I
still
think
remember
the
it easier.
difference always is?
Huh.
Human contact. Like having a teacher that you can sit here and like talk to,
Yeah.
or like actually have a conversation with, or like you can have an actual discussion. Or, you know, you're sitting there and he's like very like expressing, you're like making eye contact and like constantly moving around. It like keeps you engaged, especially like whenever they're loud.
Yeah.
Like Dr. Bradshaw, man. Like whenever
I
he's
love Dr. Bradshaw.
bro, whenever he starts yelling, I'm like, ooh, he's gonna get into it. I'm like sitting here getting ready, and it's the fact that like whenever you have, I know there are other teachers like Mr. Steinfeld does the same thing.
Yeah, Mr. Steinfeld was a really good
Yeah.
history teacher.
Yeah,
I love
he
that.
also does. We have amazing teachers at Routledge, to be honest.
Mr. Newhouse.
Oh, dude, I love Mr. Newhouse.
He's so chill.
The way he teaches is so funny. It's not even just funny, but like it's actually like, especially like whenever the whole phone ban thing started, I did not care about putting it up in his class because the way he
Don't
teaches.
say that on record, man. Can't be putting them on blast like that.
No, like I put my phone up. That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
Like his.
sorry. I thought you said
No,
you
like
meant-
his course was like I found it so entertaining that I didn't even want to be on my
Yeah.
phone or listening to music in that class.
Yeah.
Because the way that he would explain history, like genuinely made it was genuinely really interesting, and the notes were pretty easy too. So you're genuinely just learning more about history than actually copying it down. But the stuff you're copying down is really only the important stuff, not all the side stuff.
Yeah.
So it made it really easy to learn and remember, and it was also entertaining because of the way he does it. And it's also like how Mr. Royal teaches too. I love the way Mr. Royal teaches.
Bro, and his sarcasm.
It's so funny.
Bro, like and the way that Mr. Roll talks to you, it's like you'll ask him a question like, "Can I go use the restroom?" And he was like, "Oh no, can you?" And he'll sit there and you'll think about it, and then people will be like just standing there waiting for a response, right? But yeah, no.
It's so funny because there's genuine times where he'll ask someone a question in
And they'll
such
just
a way
sit there.
and that it genuinely makes that person have to sit there and think about how to respond.
Sit there and be like,
Huh?
and they'll straight up be like, "What do I say?" Like, can I?
Mr. Royal literally would just like, it's so funny.
But yeah, back to getting on topic.
Yeah.
America, land of the home, land of the brave, home of the
Three
free.
times the charm, man.
I'm not gonna get it, man.
You gotta
We
get
got-
it before we end the
we
podcast.
We got about 15 more minutes.
Let's compare American prisons to prisons in Finland.
Oh, you want to compare
Okay.
prisons? Oh god.
All right, you're gonna send me this photo so I can clip
Yeah.
them in.
I'll send you this one, and this more simple. So I mean, even if you live in this cell, when you don't have any TV, like any entertainment, it's still better than American prisons.
Bro,
Actually,
American
looks nicer.
American prison
Yeah,
isn't even a prison, man. It's like a big house for a bunch of.
You don't feel like animal being there. And one of the reasons why prisoners commit suicide is because they simply have nothing to do, and they're dehumanized. They're like treated like animals.
Exactly. You want to hear the crazy part? You remember how the 13th Amendment freed slavery?
Yeah.
It didn't. It said all slaves are freed unless imprisoned or convicted of a crime. Basically meaning that if you go to prison, you're legally a slave to the state again.
Which is not something that you would really want to think about because you can get convicted for doing something as little as like getting caught with a little bit too much like weed or something.
Not only that, man, you can get convicted for like
Well, any
too many
amount, really.
speeding.
Yeah.
Too many
It just
speeding
depends on the,
tickets.
and that's another bad thing about America, cops.
Yeah.
Because for the most part, I hate when people say, "Oh, cops are bad." They're not. I've met a lot of.
They like
decently
playing
chill
good
cops.
cop, bad cop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some good SROs here that
And
like.
yeah, and the thing is most cops, as long as you treat them with respect, they'll let you go and all that because all they really are trying to do is just maintain safety.
Yeah.
That's their job.
Mm-hmm.
But then you genuinely do have some cops who just abuse their power for no reason.
I feel like if people are rich enough, they can just pay off cops.
Oh,
to
for
do
sure.
whatever they want.
Definitely.
They're just like a hired hitman. They could just put in prison with money for any amount of crime.
That's
They
what
could
they
raid
used to do in
anybody.
like the 60s. Yeah.
Yeah, like especially like in
Even
the
before that,
yeah,
like,
like the 1600s and all that. or
No,
something like that.
1920s. The 19. Whenever immigrants first started coming to America, like up north, they would literally have, I guess, like politicians that made a shit ton of money pay local authorities to like arrest their, you know.
There was also times that like literally people, like especially back then too, that group of people would end up like trying to genuinely like jump the immigrants to try to force them out,
Yeah.
and then the cops would try to break it up, and then they just get money. And then
You want to
like,
hear something funny?
what?
So you know how basically slaves were freed in the South, like 1862.
Yeah.
They didn't necessarily get that much freedom until like the 1880s. They didn't-
I looked
until,
it up. It was
1930s.
19.
30s, 40s, maybe 60s.
I looked it
I
up.
think it was the 60s. The 60s is whenever segregation.
1964 and
Yeah.
1965.
1964.
Anywhere between there.
That's when segregation ended. Yeah.
65, yeah.
That's crazy. That was
That's
like
very
that's
recent.
50 years ago, bro. 50 years ago. 60 years ago.
Even then, that's one lifetime.
We all probably wouldn't even be in the same room right now because of our like different complexities of skin. I don't know.
I mean,
Very mixed.
Yeah.
Parts or literally anybody else being never existed or killed as a child, people would still be segregated today.
But see, I believe in the law of destiny. I think that no matter what would have happened, somebody would have had to step up eventually.
Eventually, yeah, I do feel the same way because I feel like
Because people can only handle so much.
yeah, I was gonna say that, especially for how long they were already going through it before then.
Yeah.
There's no way that someone wouldn't have eventually done something. Sure, it might have gone bad, but eventually that would cause more people to want to start doing something.
Like Malcolm X, man.
Yeah.
You know, Malcolm X wasn't famous until after he died.
That just shows how bad media is.
Exactly, man. It's called a mirage, something like that.
A mirage or something like that.
That's
No, a mirage is a second image or something. Yeah, no, that's a mirage. 100%.
I want to say one thing back about police is how police looks different from European one. Like in Europe, police looks like an actual police. Here in the United States, it looks like
Militia.
militia. Like it's all black, it's all brutal, and
you better be scared.
yeah. It looks in
Intimidating.
the way that you should be scared. Like
But
be always
another
scared.
reason for that too is just because America is more prone to violence.
Yeah.
Especially
But the
compared.
question why?
Yeah.
Why it's prone to violence? Where did it come from?
I genuinely think that violence just comes from human hatred for
No,
each other. They just because it's not even for each other; it's just of life.
No, but here's the thing: other countries are less violent, and other countries have more sense of a peace, or I guess of less hatred, right? So where does America's come from? I think it comes from the fact that we have
Drug
been.
abuse. Yeah, drug abuse, homeless populations, and just political influence.
I think it's really been like
I also heard not long ago that it one of the reasons why America is more violent than most countries is because of cowboy culture.
cowboy culture.
I don't know if it's really true, but
I mean, I would understand why that era was very like, especially
Violent.
if you're talking about like not how it is now, especially like how it was whenever it was genuine cowboys. It was very violent back then.
Yeah, I mean, people were killing each other left and right. I mean,
Yeah.
there was no law, there was no police, there was no authority.
You could
People had
literally
free
shoot
range
someone
to do
down on
whatever
the
they want.
street, and they just leave you there, and you get
just rot away.
Yeah, you get rotted and eaten by what are they called? Vultures. Yeah.
That's how California started off. Whenever the first gold rush happened, like I remember hearing stories of like people literally,
Staying
like,
out there so long, letting themselves get dehydrated and all that.
or
and
like,
pass out.
or like just not sleeping at all because they'd be surrounded by so many people that were so money greedy
Oh yeah, because
for
they try
gold.
to kill them and
Yeah,
steal
that
the
they'd
gold.
literally try to kill them in their sleep, or they try to like walk up on them. Like you had to sleep with a knife in your hand, and gun in the
Even
other one.
then-
Yeah.
even then you don't have a
Sounds like
chance.
Indian famine, where they had to stay awake so they don't get eaten, and they had to protect their families.
Damn.
Y'all remember the potato famine in
Ireland?
Yeah.
You want to hear the crazy part?
Huh.
Potatoes weren't even there before they came to America. Like potatoes are an American thing.
Wow.
Yeah, they didn't ever exist in Europe until they came to the Americas.
and tomatoes too.
Tomatoes, yeah. And we would have never had pizza
Oh,
for
wow.
Italians, yeah. You want to hear another thing that kind of like just slipped our mind? Native Americans, man.
I'm Native Mexican.
Yeah, exactly. But you're technically Native American.
Yeah.
Think
Native
about,
American.
yeah, think about what the Europeans did
Did
to
to-
us.
yeah.
They literally walked up on this land, like whenever the Native Americans sold, I forgot what they sold. Sold a good chunk of land to.
Louisiana Purchase?
No, that was from the
New York?
French. York?
They sold New York, I guess.
Oh no.
If I'm not wrong.
Yeah, see, I'm trusting Ivan just simply because.
They sold a good amount of land though.
Yeah. Okay, so they sold something to the Americans, right? Well, whenever the Americans offered them money for this land, they kind of laughed at it. They're like,
because the money had no value to them.
not only that, but they also didn't have the belief that you could own territory or own land. A lot of them were nomadic, and all of them just
Oh
moved
yeah,
around.
because like everything, like you take but you also give.
Exactly. So, like, whenever they said, like, "Hey, we'll give you this money for this land," they're like, you want the air? You want water? Like, what else do you want? What are the natural resources?" And to them, it was just a crazy concept for somebody to like
own
own land. And I just think that's like kind of funny how we just came over here. We're like, all right, we're gonna take this land, and then we kept doing it more and more, and then eventually
started destroying it.
yeah, and not only that, but we started to urbanize it and say like, hey, we need more land. We're gonna send y'all over there, and we're gonna live where y'all live right now.
I mean, they sent them to Indian reservations and just killed so many.
That wouldn't leave.
Yeah, the ones that want to leave, they would just slaughter, and it was just a genocide.
And it sounds a lot familiar to like what was happening, I guess, in Israel with the whole Zionism thing. Yeah, and like I guess Israeli people just moving into Palestinian homes and like kicking them out, because that's literally what they were doing. White people were just going into Indian homes and be like, I like this place. It's mine now. And they'd literally be like, you know, either you get out or we kill you. You know what's crazy? A lot of white people find Indian preserved items in their homes and they think it's their lineage or something like that, but it's really because their family stole that home. And they're just completely, not to hate on them or anything, but they're just completely ignorant on that idea, because it's just been something that's been swept under the rug or been kept from our history.
Because that's something that, like, it's so weird to think about, like, stuff like that when it comes to, like, I mean, I understand why they wouldn't talk about it because it's violent, but you think in, like, history classes, they would go more in depth about stuff like that to, like, not cover it up. But when it comes to, especially, like, I'd say, like, when you first start learning about it, they hardly say anything.
You know,
like,
Florida doesn't require them to teach slavery anymore.
Wow.
Yeah, and and in Texas, a recent law passed that, or a bill passed that Texas isn't required to teach the Native American massacres or slavery as immoral. So you don't have to teach slavery as being a bad thing.
That's horrible.
It's completely up to the teacher and their opinion to say it.
And like the bad thing about that is because like in the biggest thing that they ever got into about it was most likely like the walketeers. When it comes to like what schools taught you, that's probably the most gruesome thing that they told you about. Was I don't remember how long it was.
The Trail of Tears.
Yeah, the Trail of Tears or whatever.
Yeah, or they basically, you know, it was after they took their land in, I want to say, Missouri, Alabama, and like Florida, that area. I know it's like down here, right? Maybe I don't know. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Like let's say the American map's right here, Florida's right here. The Indians were living right here, and then the Americans with 13 colonies slowly started to go.
Virginia, you mean?
Virginia.
The Indians were in Virginia.
Virginia? Yeah. It was a little bit higher up. And then that's where like I'm pretty sure the Trail of Tears came from. But they like pushed them out and they're like, y'all go over there. And they literally, wasn't it like already a quote unquote pre-made path?
Yeah,
But it was like very unexplored and
it was I'm pretty sure it was like a natural made path, but like not like a full path.
Yeah,
but,
it was very brand new. Yeah.
But for the most part, it had the design of like a path. And the worst thing about it is like in history they didn't even tell, like they hardly go, like they say maybe one thing about the fact that it's like, oh yeah, and if they starve they just keep walking, and if they die they just pick them up, or they left them there.
Yeah.
Because most of like there were a lot of times where they, because especially near like the middle of the walk when a lot of people started to go, it got to the point where they didn't even start trying to carry the bodies anymore. They just started leaving them.
Well, even if you like dropped from exhaustion, you would just be shot by just cars with.
Yeah, you'd either be shot or left there, which it'd be, in all honest opinion, if you're in that state, it'd probably just be better to get shot than be left there, because it was hot. Like, I guarantee you it was not, like 70-degree weather.
No, man. The humidity too.
Yeah.
Not only that, the fluctuation from hot to cold because you're walking through the mountains.
Yeah, it would change so much, and that would also probably make your body like.
That would kill your body and like literally risk so much disease.
And the fact that you're not getting any food or water.
As well.
Yeah. And like, because here and there they'd get food, but they'd basically have to scavenge over who gets it.
Yeah.
Which is horrible to think about. That it's also like how America has like like a lot of dumb things like dogfighting rules and stuff like that when it comes to the animals and all that. It's like, oh, you want to eat? We're gonna throw a piece of meat in here. Y'all fight over it, and then whoever is alive, you killed that dog, which is horrible. Dogfighting's my stomach. Dogfighting is really dumb.
Yeah. Well, since we're running out of time, we're gonna do a quick last segment. Why do y'all currently dislike or believe that America is in the land of the free, home of the brave today? In this modern day. I said it right.
Well, for me, I would just say for the most part, it's just how Like it's kind of been how it is everywhere, but at the same time, it's different in other places. It's just how, if you have money, you have a lot more chance of success naturally based off birth than say if you were born into a poor family. Because most of the time, even if you're born into a poor family, you can be really smart. You can be really smart, and like you can be really smart, and then you just what's it called? You still won't get anywhere just because of the fact you don't have any money to pay for anything for a higher tuition.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there.
No, you're good.
You don't want
I don't.
to. You didn't hear the question.
The reason why I think America is just not free is because the idea of being free in America to a foreigner is just all smoke and mirrors. Because once you do get here, you still have to immigrate, you still have to get your green card, you still have to get, everything. And even then, if you're still an immigrant and you can't really speak English, you can't really do much of
work certain jobs and they're mostly minimum wage or low paying.
Exactly, and there's just so much discrimination against you from white people, from job opportunities, from everybody. Because if you try to get a job and you can barely speak English, then no one's going to hire you.
Land, but they literally came here and stole it from the Indians.
Exactly.
And slowly colonized it.
Exactly, and there's just no education for you because you can't afford it. You don't have enough money. There's nowhere for you to really live unless you have family. There's just really nothing for you unless you have money, and you just can't get money because you're a foreigner and you can't speak. It's just really sad to think about. That's why I think America's just not free for anybody.
Definitely true. We're gonna give it to Ivan.
Yeah, for me personally, why I believe that America is not free as it advertised is because of how many regulations and rules there are. Like you can't even paint your front door the color you want without any approval of like HOA or some, I know, city council, something like that. Unless if you have, of course, like a huge house with a huge backyard and front yard. Yeah, you can do whatever you want. But if you have just an average house, then you can't do anything even if it's not related to safety. And it's like about everything, rules everywhere when they are not necessary. And also I would say like cameras everywhere, not just because to catch criminals, but
Just to watch you.
yeah, just to watch you and to get revenue. If you, let's say, how would I say, if you
Your
make,
advertisement. Advertisement.
yeah, it also applies, but I would say about like traffic cameras, like if you speed a little bit, they will just charge you immediately.
Yeah.
But like, who cares actually if you speeding a little bit just for a few minutes?
Yeah. Well, we're gonna end it there, guys. Probably, you know what I think I'm gonna do, guys? I'm gonna post this. I'm gonna clip all the videos that we get from like yesterday and to yesterday, Monday, and today, and I'm just make a really long video and post it.
It's also cool if you add some photos or videos.
Yeah.
So it's not just blank.
Hi there, and welcome back, all you beautiful, lovely people. Hope y'all have an amazing day or night out there, whenever you're watching this. Of course, this podcast was going over whether America is the land of the home, land of the free, home of the brave. Sorry, I really suck at that. But, yeah, I had a little bit of extra time right here at the end, and I guess I wanted to talk about it a little bit. Big critiques that I guess we had on America was not only its history, but aside from its history, I guess it's the fact that there is such an advantage whenever you have money in America that it almost seems unfair to the people that don't have money. Because a lot of times, a lot of us are born without money or born into a system where we're not given money. And we feel like a lot of times the system isn't meant for us to get rich. But yeah, I don't know. For me, I feel like there are a lot of obstacle courses. In reality, if some big business doesn't want you to be rich, if you're doing too much good, if you're changing to society in a way that negatively impacts some billionaire out there, they're not gonna let you get rich. If I start taking too many sales away from Walmart's either gonna undercut my prices or try to buy out my company. It's like no other choice, no in between. And then American citizens, it's like they say people are sheep, and people are obviously gonna herd wherever the price is best. But yeah, I guess that's one of my issues with America. Also wanted to bring into topic the whole idea of there being no difference between feudalism, communism with the way it's been taken about, and capitalism. Because at the end of the day, they're all ways of, I guess, systems of control. For me, feudalism, right? You have kings, you have yeah, kings, noblemen, knights, and then peasants or serfs. Basically, the serfs work for the noblemen who own the land, who are bound by the kings, who are protected by the knights. If you want to be higher in society, you become a knight. If you want to be or you have to be born into a position of nobility or king or a position of royalty to be a king. And a lot of times you either have to be born into position of royalty, no, sorry, nobility, or you have to get lucky and get into that position. So that's feudalism, right? It's a very outdated system, right? Well, capitalism, at the very top, you have corporations. Because at the end of the day, richest corporations are people that basically control and can manipulate society in whichever way they'd like, just simply through that. That was a nice kick. Sorry, I'm watching the fight in the background. But yeah, basically they can control society with like with no limitation. With the only limitation being as far as their economic prosperity allows them to go, right? And then you have corporations like BlackRock, Vanguard, Monsanto's, like all these big billion-dollar corporations that are basically untouchable and uncontrollable, right? And then under that, you have politicians or celebrities, anybody in a position of influence, which are controlled by the corporations, right? And their whole point is to keep you tame, keep you entertained, or keep you distracted. Politicians keep us arguing amongst each other about what is socially acceptable or what is politically right, or what changes we should be making. But at the end of the day, they're not going to make any true detrimental changes to the United States that are going to benefit the people in a way that would hurt corporations. Because at the end of the day, they're controlled by lobbyists and money, right? So that's comparison to nobility right there, right? And then under that, you have, I guess, your conformists within a society, like your lawyer, doctors, um, what else? Police officers, and all these different people that accept society for what it is and accept the means of society and are in a better position, but at the same time, they're still, kind of controlled by the same people above them, politicians, celebrities, anybody of influence, right? And then under that, you have, of course, your common folk, I guess homeless population, people that just survive, people that are, struggling paycheck to paycheck. These people that I guess are realizing that the system is fucked and the system isn't the way it should be. But yeah, that's capitalism for you. It's a whole systematic triangle of feudalism, right? Same thing. You can, I guess, draw comparisons. And this is what Karl Marx was criticizing whenever he came up with the whole ideology of communism. The fact that capitalism was the second, chance of feudalism, as the bourgeoisie or the, owners of the factory are the ones making money, and the proletarian or the workers are the ones spending and making them money. So basically, we shop, we buy them stuff, we buy stuff from them, we do all this different stuff, right? And at the end of the day, are we becoming any wealthier? No, they are. But yeah, and then you have communism. By the way, it's been taken upon by countries like Russia and China, which isn't what communism was meant to be. Communism was meant to be a way of creating a utopian society by eliminating the whole class system, which on the paper it sounds very good. I've heard some negative comments or some, I guess, counter arguments about the fact that communism can create a society that isn't necessarily, I guess, growing. Because if you have no reason to grow, what's the word? I'm trying to think of a specific word. If you have no motive to drive new technology, creation of all these different things, if you have no reason to become a billionaire or to create something that will make you a billionaire, then you'll never create it because you have no reason to. But yeah, basically the whole belief of communism was that society would be controlled by the government and that the government would regulate and control all productions of goods, all productions of food, and basically everything, right? The biggest issue with this was the fact that it just simply created an excuse for the government to create a new system of, I guess, social classes, and it goes back to the same feudalistic ideology, right? You have the government on top, then under that you have the military or militia or people that work for the government. Then under that you have, I guess, people that conform within society and go out and become respected or needed member of society, like doctors, lawyers, and all these different people that are always going to be needed, right? And then under that you have your simple workers, or like peasantry, or your factory workers that are basically just there providing labor for the cheapest price possible, right? And the biggest issue with this is the fact that the government goes unregulated and is uncontrolled by the people at the bottom. It's still a hierarchical system where if your country goes into famine, and let's say your people are starving, then the government itself isn't the one dealing with that. The government people, they aren't suffering because they're at the very top. At the end of the day, your peasantry or your laborers are the ones suffering, right? It's like feudalism 2.0. But yeah, my belief system is, if we truly do want to have any of these, I guess, social structures implemented and working, it takes first government reform within itself. Your government officials can only be allowed to make a certain amount of money, or experience a certain lifestyle, which is no better than middle class, maybe even borderline, poor, peasantry. Because essentially at the end of the day, you don't want your government officials being able to profit or benefit from being in their position of power. Because at the end of the day, who wouldn't want to be a politician then? If you're telling me I could become a politician today and make $1 billion just by doing whatever some corporation would want me to do, a majority of people would be like, frick yeah, man, that's $1 billion. So that's always going to be my biggest criticize, the fact that our politicians are heavily unregulated and they can do right about whatever they want to do. But yeah, hopefully y'all enjoyed this video. Next week podcast will be Wednesday, same time, same place. Let me know if you're interested. We're going to be going over whether I guess rappers, artists, and influencers should be idolized as role models, or are they negatively impacting our youth? Which I have, mixed emotions on, because you got some MCs out there, and then you got some rappers out there. And if you know the difference, you know the difference. If you don't, you should look it up. But yeah, hopefully y'all enjoy these fight videos and this new way of podcasting. Hopefully it works. I think it's going pretty well. But yeah, give me y'all's comments. Let me know what y'all think about this podcast and the last one I talked about, true love and stuff like that. And yeah, I'd love to have another big podcast like that, talking about that. But yeah, y'all have a great night. Peace. Love y'all.